GOP lawmaker calls for Robert Mueller's arrest as second anti-Trump team member is exposed. A Republican congressman from Utah is the first to publicly call for the arrest of dirty cop Robert Mueller after a second person on his team has been exposed for blatantly biased anti-Trump behavior. After this bombshell, Mueller should take a permanent vacation and never show his face in Washington, D.C., again. According to the Gateway pundit, Congressman Chris Stewart, RUT, urgently called for Mueller's arrest on Tuesday, December 5, 2017. After his so-called lieutenant and pit bull Andrew Weissmann was exposed to have sent damning anti-Trump messages to former Department of Justice employee Sally Yates. Yates had a brief moment in the limelight following her career-ending decision to disobey the Trump administration's travel ban policy. Weissmann, an attorney working for special counsel Mueller, praised Yates in his emails for refusing to enforce President Donald Trump's travel ban, according to the Daily Caller. "I am so proud. And in awe. Thank you so much. All my deepest respects," Weissmann wrote to Yates on January 30, 2017. On the same day, Yates told the Justice Department not to defend an executive order banning immigration from 7 nations. That act of defiance is what ultimately led to her being fired by President Trump, and rightfully so. Luckily, Weissmann's emails were obtained by conservative watchdog group Judicial Watch after a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. This is an astonishing and disturbing find. Andrew Weissmann, a key prosecutor on Robert Mueller's team, praised Obama DOJ holdover Sally Yates after she lawlessly thwarted President Trump, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton said in a statement. "How much more evidence do we need that the Mueller operation has been irredeemably compromised by anti-Trump partisans? Shut it down." Weissmann is one of many Democratic donors that have been hired by Mueller to work on his probe into Russian election interference. Weissmann gave a combined $6,600 to the presidential campaigns for both former President Barack Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Source: The Daily Caller. Judicial Watch's Tom Fitton isn't alone in his sentiments that it's time something is done about the Mueller team. They're hiding it. "We've been trying to get information from Mr. Strzok for months now," Congressman Chris Stewart, RUT, said during an interview with Fox News. "Over the weekend when we finally threatened to hold them in contempt that they leaked some of this information to the press. And they came to us and say, okay, sure. Here's some of the information you need and we'll make these people available to you. We've been pushing them for months to have access on this," the GOP lawmaker continued. "If there's anybody we should trust, it should be the FBI and the director of the FBI. If there is anyone we should trust, it should be Mr. Mueller. He is put in a special position of trust. And, I'm not sure they have lived up to this. In fact, I can assure you that some of the senior directors and senior leadership of the FBI have not lived up to that trust," added Stewart. "We continue to press, and if we have to hold them in contempt we will," he threatened, adding, "I'm only half kidding on this. I said when they come to the Hill we should arrest him." I could not agree more with Stewart. Mueller has proven to not only be an untrustworthy individual but also a corrupt political slave who serves at the pleasure of the liberal Gestapo. Of course, Mueller would not be in the picture had it not been for Attorney General Jeff Sessions and his infamous recusal from the Russian investigation. Sessions has become the focus of many angry American patriots for literally letting corrupt political figures such as Hillary Clinton get away with colossal violations of the law while allowing Mueller's team of Trump-hating investigators to conduct a fraudulent witch hunt. Stewart is on the right track, and we will see if the rest of Congress has the guts to do the right thing. While Middle America grows angrier and more frustrated with Mueller's corruption parade, lawmakers have a tremendous responsibility to act on our behalf and get rid of Mueller if they won't have him arrested. It's time to stop the deep state from trying to circumvent the presidential election that didn't go their way and let Trump continue making America great again.
Taxpayers pay nearly $7 million in Mueller's wild goose chase, no end in sight. Michael Flynn is the latest person to be ensnared by Robert Mueller's wide-ranging investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 election, or the Trump campaign's ties to Russia, or Paul Manafort's dealings with the Ukraine years ago, or where D.B. Cooper is, or whatever. Flynn has pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI, which a hungry media has gleefully declared is the beginning of the end for the Trump administration, an odd declaration, since this is roughly the 27th thing that the media has unanimously declared to be the beginning of the end for the Trump administration. This is kind of a surprise, since everyone on our staff figured Flynn was guilty as heck and nothing being reported indicates he made contacts with the Russians during the 2016 campaign, unless you're Brian Ross, who managed to earn himself an extra long Christmas vacation for reporting just that. Aside from Flynn, the other people who have been ensnared in Mueller's exceptionally expensive wild goose chase are 1. Paul Manafort, for his dealings with a shady pro-Ukrainian organization that began and ended before his short tenure managing the Trump campaign, a position he got not because Trump had any affection for or trust in Manafort but because the GOP establishment wanted adult supervision once it became clear Trump would become the party's nominee, and Manafort was one of the few establishment figures who would do it. 2. Manafort's business partner, Rick Gates, who has absolutely zero to do with Donald J. Trump, and 3. George Papadopoulos, a campaign volunteer who had connections to a mysterious, self-aggrandizing professor who promised to set up contacts with the Russians that never materialized. And all for the low price of $7 million taxpayer dollars. Yes, according to the Washington Free Beacon, Mueller's fishing expedition has spent $7 million of your money on, well, what you see above. The expenditures can be divided into two main categories, approximately $3.2 million spent by Mueller, and an additional $3.5 million spent on other Department of Justice components to support the investigation, including investigators from the FBI, the Free Beacon reported Tuesday. Keep in mind that Congress has its own investigation into Russian election meddling, which I'm sure isn't exactly cheap, either. The media, of course, will scoff at anyone protesting the price tag on the investigation. These indictments are just the beginning, we're constantly told. Flynn, Papadopoulos and Manafort are all about to turn on Trump, except there's no evidence of this in an investigation that's already seen more leaks than North Korean plumbing. $7 million may not sound like a lot in the whole scheme of things, especially if you're a never-Trumper determined to nullify last year's election results via the judicial system. In fact, if you're Maxine Waters, $7 million must seem like a pittance. However, consider this, the Rand Corporation estimates that a car theft could be prosecuted for as little as $200 to $400, with murders at the high end going for $22,000 to $44,000. So, that $7 million could have paid for at least 17,500 motor vehicle theft prosecutions. Or, it could have put 160 murderers behind bars. And keep in mind, that's just the amount Mueller has spent thus far. If that ends up being half the final bill, I'll be exceptionally surprised, especially since there's no end in sight. But the big break is coming any day now. At least, according to the media. Soon, the whole thing will be blown wide open and impeachment proceedings against Trump will begin. You know, just like they were about to begin when Flynn was fired. Or when Comey testified before Congress. Or after the meeting with Natalia Veselnitskaya was discovered. Or, what are your thoughts on the special counsel's investigation?
Breaking: Hillary Clinton terrified after what her aides were caught doing with FBI agents in Trump/Russia investigation. Ever since Donald J. Trump announced he was running for president, every single member of the deep state has begun collaborating to discredit him. The most popular method currently being employed is accusing Trump of being a Russian agent. Despite there being zero evidence for this claim, the left continues to bombard us with news reports with anonymous sources claiming that President Trump is in cahoots with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. Unfortunately for liberals, however, it seems that a Clinton aide was just caught red-handed lying about this. It doesn't end there. We now know that one of the lead FBI investigators not only ignored obvious lies from the Clinton aide, he led the witch hunt of Michael Flynn as well. The Gateway Pundit reports. The agent, Peter Strzok, is considered one of the most experienced and trusted FBI counterintelligence investigators. He helped lead the investigation into whether Hillary Clinton mishandled classified information on her private email account, and then played a major role in the investigation into links between President Trump's campaign and Russia, reports the New York Times. Chuck Ross of the Daily Caller combed through emails from Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills, former top aides to Hillary Clinton, to see if statements they made to Strzok were false. Sure enough, Mills and Abedin lied to Strzok about Clinton's private server, claiming they didn't know it existed until after the former Secretary of State left Obama's cabinet. Mills did not learn Clinton was using a private server until after Clinton's Department of State tenure, reads notes from Mills' May 28, 2016 interview. Mills stated she was not even sure she knew what a server was at the time. Abedin also denied knowing about Clinton's server until leaving the State Department in 2013. Abedin did not know that Clinton had a private server until about a year and a half ago when it became public knowledge, the summary of Strzok's interview with Abedin states. But undercutting those denials are email exchanges in which both Mills and Abedin either directly discussed or were involved in discussing Clinton's server. HRC email coming back, is server okay? Mills asked in a February 27, 2010 email to Abedin and Justin Cooper, a longtime aide to Bill Clinton who helped set up the Clinton server. Funny. We are on the same server, Cooper replied. Mills and Abedin were also involved in an August 30, 2011 exchange in which State Department official Stephen Mull mentioned that Clinton's email server is down. And in a January 9, 2011 email exchange, Cooper told Abedin that Clinton's server had been malfunctioning because someone was trying to hack us. Had to shut down the server, wrote Cooper, who told the FBI in his interviews that he discussed Clinton's server with Abedin in 2009. When it was being set up. According to CNN, Strzok also personally changed key language that former Bureau Director James Comey used to describe Hillary Clinton's email conduct. CNN reports. Electronic records show Peter Strzok, who led the investigation of Hillary Clinton's private email server as the number 2 official in the Counterintelligence Division, changed Comey's earlier draft language describing Clinton's actions as grossly negligent to extremely careless, the source said. The drafting process was a team effort, CNN is told, with a handful of people reviewing the language as edits were made, according to another U.S. official familiar with the matter. In yet another stunning twist to the Trump-Russia witch hunt, Fox News host Sean Hannity and Circa News reporter Sarah A. Carter have teamed up to reveal that Trump-hating FBI agent Peter Strzok interviewed former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn, former National Security Advisor to President Trump, pleaded guilty Friday to making false statements to the FBI about contacting Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak during the transition. If you think that President Trump needs to eliminate the deep state and their corrupt, traitorous allies, please give this article a share. Thank you and God bless.